Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I want to talk about the new dungeons that are due out this week. Basically, I want to talk about champions where I feel they've had a value surge. I want to talk about strategies that I'm planning to try out once these dungeons drop. And I guess we just kind of go through dungeon by dungeon and talk about, you know, where I think it's going to be a challenge and where actually I feel like on the face of it so far, they don't seem like they're going to be too different. Okay, so we're going to kick off then with Dragon. And I think it's important here, if I show you the kind of video clip from their YouTube channel, it looks like most of the hard dungeons, if this is right, and don't forget, this is like pre-footage, it might not be right, but I think it probably is. Yeah. It looks like stage 10 for most of the dungeons that we see any info for, if it follows on the same line, is going to be a void dungeon. So that means that you don't get any bonuses to your crit, but you also don't get any negative effects to crit. There's no like strong champion pool. Everyone's going to be on an even kill. Does mean that there's not going to be that champion that kind of got a good chance of taking a load of weak hits and therefore is going to be, you know, favored. But ultimately, it looks like stage 10 across the board is going to be void unless they change it from what they showed us in this video, which is very possible, by the way. Okay, it's very possible. I also want to talk about some stats here because we've had a little bit of the old data mining going on by now. And it looks like for stage 10 type of stuff, we're looking at somewhere around a 330 accuracy of the bosses. Yeah, which means that you need a ton more than that resistance to deal with it. Yeah, normally something like 300 accuracy, you need more like 420 odd resistance. So if you're trying to resist stuff, it's going to be way more difficult. And the bosses have got like 290 resistance, which means you're going to be looking at about 300 accuracy. Okay, so there is going to be a bit of a ramp up in stats. Doesn't look like speed's really changed. Doesn't look like hit point numbers have really changed. You see here the boss level's 350. If we look in game, the boss level of our current dungeons is 350. Yeah, and the waves look like they're going to have a similar amount of stats as well. So all of that's potential to change, all that type of stuff. But just to give you some kind of flavor of what's going on. So the main difference here then, when we talk about the dragon, the main difference is the fact that he applies poisons to you, which he will then pop. He will then ignite the poisons and do a kind of burst of damage. If you can deal with that, then I feel like Dragon's going to play out pretty similar to how it does now. There's a few ways you could deal with that. So champions like Helior, wherever he is. Helior, I don't actually own Helior on my main. Helior has got an ability to transfer all debuffs from all allies to a target enemy, then attack. Yeah, so he could suck up all of those poisons and nasty stuff from your team, throw it back at the dragon, and then actually he would negate all of that additional now new dragon ability. Also somebody like Stultus here. Stultus, the dragon killer, has actually got a passive whenever an enemy attempts to place weaken and decrease defense on him or poison, he's going to reflect it back to the attacker. So champions like this, Skimfoss is another one. The rest of his kit doesn't make tons of sense, but does have an A2 here where he puts decreased attack on, which is going to be good against the dragon. That's what the dragon's damage is based off. Then after attacking, transfers all debuffs except kind of control ones to him. And he's got another ability where he'll throw it back at an enemy. So these type of abilities I think could be good. Lissandra's got another one. She throws debuffs back at enemies. Yeah, so that type of thing. Or just like a standard block debuffs, a standard cleanse within your team. All of that stuff's still going to work. Yeah, so I don't think Dragon's going to be particularly different. In fact, if you can get to the stats, I still think the regular solo type of champions, like your Bad Elves, your Theodores, whatever, I think they're all going to do the same job. And I can't see, unless, the only thing we don't know is how hard this dragon's going to hit us now. But yeah, it feels like the same strats as before probably will work on Dragon. So not too much to kind of go about there. I guess we just move straight on to the next one, which is going to be, I think we'll talk about the Ice Golem next. So Ice Golem, his main changes here are he's immune to poison. That's actually a colossal change. It's a huge change. So being immune to poison is going to be challenging, actually. He will take additional damage from HP burn, 10% more. Pulled it out wrong the other day. An HP burn does 3% max health. So 10% more says to me it's going to be doing 3.3% max health. It's really not that big. But because you can't do any damage with poison, it feels like there's going to be a couple of strats here. So HP burn may still be the way to go, even though this kind of additional 10% doesn't really seem to account for a lot, unless they've coded it in a weird way. Yeah, so HP burn champions are probably still going to be the way to go. I also think blocking the revive of the side adds is going to be more important than it was before. Because what we used to do is poison damage the boss, and you basically just, because poison didn't trigger the kind of retribution hit and then the respawn, we didn't really care about block reviving the adds. I do think champions like Phoenix as a go to the wrong faction for him. Phoenix as an epic is probably going to grow massively in value because his A1 hits so freaking hard and it does block revive. So I think he's going to be good paired alongside HP burn champions. HP burn might still be one of the quickest ways to do your damage, or enemy max HP. So I could see, as long as you've got block revivers coming in, I could see enemy max HP hitters, obviously someone like Trizia, great, but also champions like Royal Guard, also bringing your decreased speed. Other champions like even Armada, once the side adds are down, enemy max HP is where it's at, and he will cycle through it quickly. He will also have a chance to block revive the side adds as well. So yeah, I can see those type of champions coming in and doing some work. You still, though, have got to get to the boss. So there's still going to have to be a team comp which kills adds, which is where it gets a little bit more challenging, because it might be that you still need like the Seer comp to get you there. She will do some good enemy max HP damage on the boss, but you're then going to have to control whether those block revives go off at the right time. So if you're going to avoid the block revive strat, or generally you're going to go with a burn strat, I think champions like Walking Tomb Dreng, who a lot of people would have got for a fusion, will still be massive here. I think champions that activate burns could be big. Theodore, Takia. I think champions that have just got a solid chance to put burns on all adds are going to be good. So, you know, champions like Tunisia, also stunning side adds with a big hit as well. I think she could be pretty damn solid. Who else have I got on my list? I actually feel like our friend the Geo could be top tier here. Puts his burn on the main boss. Anyone who hits anyone in your team will then do the equivalent of burn damage to the boss. So it might be that Geo becomes top tier. You build him super tanky like you would against Iron Twins. And it might be that he becomes the damage. Yeah, and I think actually pretty, like, I think he might be top tier. Absolutely top tier for an epic. Someone else who I thought might be quite cool, also going to be calling this guy out when we come to Spider, Crypt King. So we've got burns, we've got freezes as well for those side adds, and the burn cannot be resisted if he gets the freeze out there. Decrease attack as well, which we need for the main boss. So yeah, I feel like he could end up being pretty damn solid in a couple of places. But yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see champions like Husk making a comeback in this type of content. Royal Guards, you know, your normal kind of enemy max HP hitters who just do good damage. Get those side adds dead, block revive them, and I think that's going to be your best shout against the Ice Golem. Right, so we're going to talk Fire Knight here. This is probably going to be the hardest boss. I actually think it's going to be the hardest boss by a country mile. Yeah, I think this is going to be one that's going to need some big brain strats. The other three, I don't think are going to be that bad. We'll talk about Spider in a minute, but Ice Golem, I feel like there's going to be probably some bait into choosing the wrong strats. And I think that the whole mechanics of the fight has changed. Okay, so it used to be a turn, basically break the shield, and then you turn me to control the boss. That's not going to happen anymore. Yeah, you cannot turn me to control the boss anymore. In fact, I think you're going to have to play this so that firstly you beat the waves, which creates a different challenge to the boss. Then I think you're going to have to take a hit. I think you're going to need to take a hit to do the first shield break. And I think actually a lot of the stuff you do before you take a hit is setting yourself up to reduce the amount of stacks on his shield. 21 stacks is a ton. So yeah, I think you're going to be looking to champions with abilities like reflect damage. So you can come to hellhades.com. on the right-hand side of this, you can just kind of find champions with different abilities, yeah? So reflect damage here. I was looking through these earlier, and there's two kind of abilities that I was looking for. I was looking for freezes, because freezes now reduce turn meter, and I was looking for reflect damage champions, because they can help you out, obviously. Now, there's actually, for your whole team reflect damage, there's not many. Look, we're talking like, a dozen champions, and honestly, looking through their kits, there's not really many that I would call out as, like, these are champions you should be thinking about. But I do think you're going to need one of them on your team. So I actually feel like Woad Painted might come out as the go-to. The GOATs. Lordly Legionary might be good as well, because I think you're going to need reflect damage. I think you're going to need decreased speed. Can't drop turn meter, but you can still drop his speed. And then I think you're going to need to get your damage away whilst the shield is down. I actually feel like freeze might be a bait, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, Woad Painted, she is bringing reflect damage for your team, a big heal, with the ability to kind of improve on the lost heal, the removed kind of max HP stuff that you're got going on. She's also bringing a double hit A1, which I think is useful as well. So 2 hits on the A1 is kind of like a minimum, I'd say, for the new Fire Knight. But plus that reflect damage is going to be very cool. Other champions I think you're going to need in the mix are champions that have got either counter attack or ally attack. Yeah, so ally attack champions, there's a whole ton of them. You could kind of pick out the right ones. But when I look at all of these type of champions, they don't have freeze. Yeah, none of them got it in their kits. And also the freeze champions, they don't really bring you anything to beat the waves, except perhaps one, who I'm going to talk about in a second. So I feel like freeze might end up being a bait. Yeah, most of these champions with freeze, maybe Ninja is going to give you a lot of damage when the shield is down, multiple hits when the shield is down, and a freeze to drop a bit of turn meter. But it's only 15%. Yeah, so I feel like if you're trying to fill yourself up with freeze champions, you're going to lose this fight. The only one, the two, I'd say, that are worth having a look at, I think, your Cole, who is the champion that you can get from Clan Shop, yeah? Using your Clan Gold. So your Cole's got freezes everywhere on his kit, which is cool. He's got a double hit A1, which we want. And he's got a decreased speed as well. Chance of placing decreased speed for 3 turns and freeze. The turn meter still won't happen, but I think the decreased speed will be actually really important to get the rest of your hits away. And everything he's got is about freezing. So I think your Cole could be very good. He's also got some inbuilt mechanics to stay alive. And I feel like Gory could be good as well. So he's got a triple hitter, books to 100% chance of placing a freeze each time you do that. He's got a double hitter A1 as well. So again, double hitter A1 is imperative. And I think a triple hitter with freezes could be good. Is he going to help you with waves, though? Not really. He's going to be like Allure is now. I guess he controls waves. Same with your Cole. He'll control waves, but he's not going to give you any kind of speed farm through the waves, I think. So these two champions might be good, but honestly, I feel like they might also just be straight up bait. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up having comps where you have a reflect damage champion, probably a counter attack champion or an ally attack champion in the squad. You break through those shields super quick, and then you've got enemy max HPers coming in, doing their damage while that shield is down. And then you kind of rinse and repeat. I think speed farm is going to be more challenging to do. If I look at other champions that I was kind of thinking about here, actually a cool one for the reflect, he reflects in a different way, is Brogni. So Brogni, and I guess, does Geo do the same thing? Geo might well do the same thing. Brogni has got the ability, when he puts his shield out, to reflect a hit. So this one gives you protection whilst also doing reflect damage. Yeah, which is actually cool. It will give you 5 hits immediately into the shield. I don't know if Geo's interacts in the same way. I think maybe it does. Maybe comment below if you know that, because Geo might be top tier for this as well. Even though the rest of his kit doesn't make any sense, his reflect might just be something that just works. And again, 5 layers of shield gone. Who else was I looking at here? That's about it, really. I think the other thing to not downplay is accessories which have got counter attack ability. Yeah, revenge accessories. If you're loading people up with like, 2 of these that are in your team, all of a sudden you've got a 10% chance to counter attack when you take a hit. If 1 or 2 of your team are doing that, 4 layers of shield will drop. But yeah, I do feel like the freeze type of side of things actually might be a complete bait. Maybe you would take 1 freeze champion for your squad, but I doubt people are going to be taking enough freeze champions because they're not good enough to keep the shield down consistently. I can't see it unless you're literally bringing in 3 Dories or something weird like that. So the last one we're going to talk about then is the new Spider. Now, I will say here, where's my little screenshot? I will say with the Spider, I don't think Spider's going to change that much. So Spider now cannot be turn meter controlled. So that's big. Yeah, some of those champions that would have brought turn meter down like a Cold Heart will have less value. The Spider will also heal for 1% every time a burn goes off on a Spiderling. But the Spiderlings will still give the damage of 3%. So in effect, instead of a burn doing a 3% damage tick, it's doing a 2%. Which actually is not that bad still. It's still a legit strat. So I think burns and enemy max HP are going to be where this goes. Because you can't turn me to control, you're more likely to take a hit. But I think you might be able to just do a couple of things. So the main Spider also takes now damage through killing Spiderlings. Okay, so it kind of says to me now you've got 2 ways to do your damage. You can either go with or a combination of the 2. So my Spider team here, I throw burns out and stun the Spiderlings. I wouldn't be doing turn meter drop here, but I would still do the enemy max HP stuff. I throw burns out, ignite the burns, and I do enemy max HP. I think all of that still works, right? But the difference is you can't turn meter control the boss, and the boss will heal for some of that damage. But also, if you kill the Spiderlings now, you do damage in another way. So I think all we're going to be doing is exactly what I've just done there. Cold Hearts get swapped with, Royal Guards or someone else who's going to do enemy max HP hits. And I think it's still going to be one of the ones that once you've made it work, it's going to be the easiest one to continue with. So, there might be some other champions that come in the mix though. So I'm thinking Crypt King again, freeze plus burn, very good. Royal Guard, Husk, potentially Geo, I thought, but then the main Spider is going to be immune to burn. So actually Geo is going to be pointless now. I think that's probably why they made the main Spider immune to burn, so that Geo doesn't go in every single team. I thought a cool one could be a Venus Cupidus combo, especially if you've got a strong Cupidus like I've got. So Venus would put out decreased defense and weaken, and then Cupidus would go at the Spiderlings with an AoE hit if he's the one tanking the damage. And you could force that to happen if you kind of set it up right with HP levels and stuff. So those 2 might be able to just duo it, potentially. They've also got HP burn in their kit, so that's going to do damage as well. So those 2 might end up being a really good combo. Another champion who is new, who actually is kind of nuts. This is someone that Saf has done a lot of work with. You should check out Saf HH Gaming channel and see what Saf's done with this new champion, Akemtum. I don't have him on my main yet. But Akemtum might be this kind of like poison comp idea. So he's able to put out hex debuffs. Yeah, he's able to put out poisons with his A1. But basically, on his passive, when booked out, 100% chance of inflicting damage from poison to enemies under hex whenever their allies receive damage from poison. So you basically poison and spread poison with his A1. Then when one of those Spiderlings takes a turn, takes a tick of poison damage, Akemtum will inflict that damage everywhere. And the weird thing with Akemtum is that counts as normal damage. It doesn't count as a poison tick. In terms of the way it's coded, it's coded like normal damage. So if he's in lifesteal gear, he'll actually heal as if the lifesteal stuff's going off. And he can proc things like Warmaster as well. So I think that he could end up being pretty fun. I think you could end up stacking a load of poisons on the boss and the Spiderlings. Whenever the Spiderlings take a turn, the main boss is going to be getting poison pops, and he will be healing at the same time. Do I think he's going to be able to solo it? I don't know, actually, but you could get a couple of them in there. I don't know. Or you could just get some support around him, and he might end up doing a ton of work as well. So Look, that's my ideas. One thing I will call out, I did see a video, someone basically saying that they didn't feel like the blessings was gonna make much of a difference, which I think is nuts. If you've got a high level blessing on champions and you're like between two, the main difference I think you're going to get from these blessings, and I don't like it by the way, but it's damage mitigation against these new bosses. Yeah, it decreases the damage inflicted by the boss up to 25%. You've got a straight damage reduction of 25% if you've got a level 6 blessing on someone, which is crazy, yeah? If you've got a level 2 blessing, you've got a straight 5% reduction. Yeah? It's a lot. The extra damage you do, I don't know if it's going to be that relevant. Maybe if we're talking about you're trying to like AoE nuke the spiderlings with someone like a Trunda. Yeah, and she'll do an extra 50% damage to spiderlings. Okay, cool. But, you know, enemy max HP champions, they've got their damage capped anyway. I guess someone like a Phoenix, if you're trying to do those block revives and you want more damage, then that could be good as well. But yeah, I feel like the main benefit you're going to get from blessings is just you take less damage against these bosses. And you might need that because a lot of them, it feels like we're gonna take a hit. Dragon, we're gonna take a hit. Ice Golem, we're gonna take a hit. Finite, I think we're gonna take a hit. So the blessings end up being, I think, just like a straight damage reduction. And obviously that makes it easier to do it. But obviously you can't just pull a blessing out your ass. So you've either got them or you haven't, unless you're a spender. But anyway, guys, look, hope that was useful. Hope you've gained some knowledge. Comment down below champions that you're thinking about for these different fights. You know, teams that you're trying to kind of like theory craft in your head. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.